The desert does not announce itself. It removes things. Sound goes first, then distance, then certainty. Pietro della Valle learned this slowly, as a man learns a language he never intended to speak. He had left Italy with the restless conviction that, beyond the familiar, lay another version of the world. He carried letters, instruments, and a careful hand for copying what he did not understand. His wife, Sittimani Giurida, had been a princess once in Damascus. Together, they crossed a geography that did not care for titles. Their guides whispered, voices softened like wind through grass. They studied the horizon, eyes narrowed for answers. War carved uncertainty into the land. Ottomans and Persians clashed over Baghdad, with flashing blades and the roar of cannon. Smaller men scraped livings in the burnt gaps. Bandits swept by like desert storms. Lions stalked among jagged rocks. Only the heat endured, relentless and solid. On the 18th day of June, the desert blinked. Someone noticed them first. A gesture, a stillness on a distant dune, shapes resolving into men watching. The caravan had entered a place of exposure. No one waved. The guides did not hesitate. Pietro watched as they violently turned the caravan, startling the animals. Sand broke underfoot. The horizon shifted. Pietro did not ask questions. He understood they were leaving danger behind. They rode away from the men in the distance. The sun pressed hard. Time loosened. City said nothing. She was used to silence between dangers. Then something appeared, and the reason for turning became clear. At first, it was just a disturbance on the horizon, a geometry where no one belonged, a mass alien to wind or stone. It rose slowly, as if recalling itself. Ruins. They approached with caution, as one would a sleeping animal. The structures resolved into jagged, shattered walls, looming and unyielding. Clay bricks crumbled into sharp, red fragments. Angles that once conveyed precision now marked stubborn persistence. They camped inside the ruin. It offered what the desert could not: edges, corners, a defensible space. The guide sent word to the local chieftain seeking safe passage. Negotiations began out of sight, among men fluent in power's shifting lines. Time expanded. Waiting replaced movement. Pietro stayed in the ruin. During the day, Pietro walked. He walked corridors that led nowhere. He stepped through doorways whose doors had vanished before Rome was imagined. Here and there, the lower courses of walls still stood shoulder high, enough to suggest rooms, courtyards, and streets whose purposes had slipped beyond recovery. The city resisted explanation. Every path seemed to promise order before collapsing. He climbed mounds that looked natural until a broken corner emerged beneath the sand. From above, the ruin spread outward in uneven ridges, as though the earth itself had grown square for a time and then forgotten why. Often he found himself stopping for no reason he could name. A wall caught the midday light at a different angle. A fragment of brick retained the sharpness of the hand that had shaped it. Wind uncovered one corner while burying another. The city seemed engaged in a slow conversation with the desert, revealing itself one sentence at a time before thinking better of it. He bent to examine fallen bricks. Nearly every one bore the same small impressions, tiny wedges pressed into wet clay by hands that had expected to be understood. A language. He did not know this language. That did not matter. He copied it anyway, carefully, faithfully, as though the act of recording might call forth its meaning. He had found his purpose there. He filled pages with figures that refused to become words. He measured them with his eye, preserving their spacing, their tempo, their peculiar insistence. Occasionally, he would find a brick bearing the same sequence he had seen earlier. It pleased him more than he expected. Repetition implied intention. Intention implied thought. Thought implied people close enough to imagine. The ruin became less foreign with each circuit. Certain walls served as landmarks. A collapsed corner pointed toward camp. A time-worn platform caught the early light of morning. Without noticing, he began navigating by features no map acknowledged. His wife watched from the shade. She had seen cities rise and fall. She knew men like him believed in continuity, that something could survive time if watched closely enough. The heat did not relent. It erased shadows at noon and blurred the horizon white. The ruins held their shape against it with quiet resistance. When evening arrived, the desert surrendered its heat reluctantly. The stones breezed it back into the air long after the sun had gone, and the camp waited in that lingering warmth until darkness finally claimed the ground. Small fires appeared among the broken walls. Water simmered. Bread, hardened by travel, softened over the coals. Camels settled onto folded legs with low, patient groans. Harnesses creaked in the stillness. Somewhere beyond the ruin, a fox barked once and was silent. Then the night became immense. Without cities or villages to interrupt it, darkness gathered with surprising weight. The stars multiplied until there seemed scarcely room for another. Familiar constellations remained, but they floated among countless others Pietro had never noticed from Europe. The Milky Way no longer resembled a pale band. It became a river of light, stretching from one horizon to the other. The guides spoke more easily after sunset. They named stars as though greeting old companions. Their stories wandered between memory and legend, never making much distinction between the two. One pointed toward the southern sky and spoke of travelers who had crossed these sands generations before. The desert carried sounds farther at night. A camel shifting its weight echoed across the open ground. Wind moved through broken walls with a low voice that seemed almost deliberate. Once, far away, something called into the darkness. Whether beast or man, no one could say. Pietro found sleep came in fragments. He woke to complete silence. Above him, the ruined walls framed pieces of sky crowded with stars older than any kingdom he knew. He wondered how many of the people who had built this place had fallen asleep beneath these same constellations, believing their own world would endure. He did not know where he was. No one did. Not in the way that would satisfy a map. Morning arrived without ceremony. The eastern horizon simply softened from black to violet, then to pale gold. The camp stirred before the sun cleared the earth. Fires became ash. The camels rose with practiced reluctance. For a few brief moments, the air carried a coolness almost impossible to believe. Then the light returned, and with it the heat, as if the previous night had merely been imagined. After several days, they left. With safety in doubt, the caravan hastily reassembled and moved on. The ruin receded, first to the horizon, then to abstraction, then nothing. Years later, men would give that place a name again. They would call it a centre, a beginning. They would draw lines from it to everything that followed. Writing, law, cities, memory made permanent. But on that June day, it was only a refuge, a structure in the desert, a place to hide from men on a dune. Pietro carried his copies with him, small, careful reproductions of a language that had slept for thousands of years beneath the sun, and now would not remain only buried. He did not wake it, he only grazed it, and that touch was enough to begin the return. What he carried away were some of the earliest thoughts to survive their makers. What endured was not the city itself, but the simple human desire to leave something worth finding.